Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedom and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country. In the courtrooms of America, Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedom.
Will same-sex marriage put every household at risk? Should we simply abandon this issue? Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. Matt, recent polls came out from the National Organization for Marriage, and they ultimately found that 60% of the people that they polled believe in marriage as a union of one man and one woman. Despite the fact that there's certainly a majority of people that still believe that, and despite the fact that it's right, there are some people that say we ought to abandon this issue because the younger generation is no longer connecting with this issue, and therefore we ought to abandon it. Basically, they want to change their values based upon popularity polls. And that is simply unprincipled for a number of reasons, but it also is dangerous in this particular area because each time you have same-sex marriage or homosexual rights elevated to the level of a civil right, you have an inevitable clash with religious liberty and freedom of speech.
Yeah, that's the question. Do you let popularity polls dictate your position on the issues, or do you let truth dictate your position on the issues, reality dictate your position on the issues? The answer, Matt, isn't to capitulate just because the left has a better propaganda machine and is able to misframe the debate and paint it and couch it in terms of equality, marriage equality. They use their euphemistic language to convince impressionable young people that it's the right thing to do. No, what the answer is to properly educate young people why the institution of marriage, as God defined it, between a man and a woman, the very fundamental cornerstone of any healthy society, is such an important institution that it cannot be radically redefined and deconstructed until it really becomes meaningless, which is what the left is attempting to do.
Well, in fact, if you look at any time that same-sex marriage or homosexual rights are elevated to a civil right, here's what you have happen. In Vermont, in 2000, that was the first state to actually pass a same-sex civil unions. It later then passed a same-sex marriage law. In that particular state, there's the Wildflower Inn. After 2000, this Wildflower Inn is a bed and breakfast owned and operated by a Christian family. They live in the bed and breakfast. People come there obviously just like a bed and breakfast. They also have an outreach for weddings, so people can use their facility for weddings. Well, after 2000, they had someone who wanted to have a lesbian same-sex commitment ceremony, and they said, no, that would not be something consistent with our values. We can go down the street here to this other place, and they'll be able to handle it for you. They filed a discrimination claim against Wildflower Inn. Liberty Counsel represented them. We ultimately won that case. Then Vermont went the next step to same-sex marriage. And then the same thing happened. Somebody wanted to have a same-sex marriage there. The ACLU filed a complaint against them, and now Wildflower Inn, they spoke to us, but they wanted to resolve it and just basically cave in. We were not going to be complicit with just simply caving into that particular issue. They were tired of fighting it. They ended up paying a $10,000 fine plus $20,000 in a trust account for the homosexual agenda. $30,000, and now if they want to operate any kind of wedding service, they have to have same-sex weddings there. I don't know if they've continued that or not. But every time this happens, you have a collision with religious freedom. Despite people, whether they run bed and breakfasts or whether they run a printing shop or a video duplication facility or they're a wedding photographer or they have a facility that they open up for the public, no matter what it is, you ultimately will have a clash with religious freedom.
If counterfeit same-sex marriage becomes the law of the land, religious liberty, as it pertains to human sexuality, God's design for marriage, and sexual morality, will be trampled underfoot. Look at what happened with David Parker and his family out in Massachusetts. Massachusetts, the first state to the court through judicial fiat make same-sex marriage the law of the land. He had his kindergartner in class. They start reading King and King. He goes into school, says, no, I need to opt my child out of this. I need to know if you're going to be discussing these issues that are in conflict with our sincerely held religious beliefs. The school said, no, we're not going to let you know. No, your child can't opt out of public school. He sat there and said, I'm not leaving then until I get an assurance you can. They arrested him, hauled him off in handcuffs, Matt. And then this went all the way up and through the federal court system. Federal Judge Wolf said, no, we have to raise good citizens in our country, the public schools. Same-sex marriage is the law of the land. Parents, you do not have the option of opting your children out. You just have to pull them out of your schools, put them in a private Christian school. Well, how long, Matt, until, if marriage becomes a law of the land federally, till private Christian schools are forced to recognize and celebrate same-sex marriage?
On November the 30th of this month, I will be in Sacramento, California, in a federal court. And the issue is a law that was just passed in California that prohibits change therapy. In other words, counselors can counsel on anything that they want to, as long as they get informed consent from their client, and they can even counsel on the issue of same-sex attractions, but only if they affirm it. So you get somebody, for example, that has been molested by the likes of a Jerry Sandusky, starts having identity issues, anger issues, anxiety, then starts to have same-sex attractions, unwanted same-sex attractions, does not want to act on them, has religious beliefs that is to the contrary, comes to a counselor, effective January 1, if we don't win this lawsuit, January 1, 2013, that young boy will not be able to get counseling to help him reduce or eliminate same-sex attractions. The parents won't be able to seek it out. The counselors won't be able to provide it. This is licensing one viewpoint, forcing counselors and young men or young boys and young girls, parents, to only accept one viewpoint, and that is same-sex attractions are healthy and normal, and not that you can do anything to stop them. That is absurd, but that's actually coming in California, and that's why I'm in court on the 30th of this month. You know, Kai Feldblum, who Obama appointed to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, said that this is a zero-sum game. She actually gave the example of Liberty Counsel's Wildflower Inn case in Vermont as one of the list of what she called zero-sum games. She said whenever the so-called LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, ultimately collides with religious freedom, as in that case, which one do you think wins? Well, you would think First Amendment, free exercise of religion. No, she said the LGBT agenda wins, religious liberty is the loser. There is what she calls a zero-sum game. There is no middle ground. There's no compromise. There's only one winner and there's one loser. Religious freedom loses, and this ultimately is trumped by the LGBT agenda.
Our friend Bob Knight with the American Civil Rights Union heard her summarize it this way: gays win, Christians lose. And that is what people need to understand. If DOMA, for instance, is overturned, if the federal courts rule that same-sex marriage has to be permissible, the floodgates open. Private business owners, Christian bed and breakfast, Christian motel owners, Bible bookstore owners, Christian schools, you name it, it runs the gamut. And that is what all of these sexual orientation, sexual preference policies that are being enacted, same-sex marriage, as you talked about, removing the right for children and parents to have change therapy. These are all little landmines they're putting in place in order to blow up religious freedom and make not just recognition but celebration of disordered sexual behavior the law of the land.
Yeah, and it's not just homosexual. It's all kinds of other things as well. It is a very bizarre panoply of issues that will ultimately collide with religious freedom. It will inevitably happen. And so not only does it deconstruct the foundation of family and have consequences with regards to family and society and children, and when you deconstruct and destabilize family, it is not an isolated incident. When you destabilize family and that union of mom and dad with their sons and daughters, and you destabilize that, it has consequences that ripple out into the community. Any sociologist who's studied that obviously knows this. There's thousands and thousands of research studies on the destabilization of family and what happens. Not only do you destabilize family, but you have a direct conflict with anything to the contrary, and the first thing in the crosshairs is religious freedom and freedom of speech. That's why it's important that regardless of the popularity polls and regardless of what the pundits are saying, whether the popularity polls are up one day or down one day, or somebody pontificating on Fox News or CNN or whatever it is, when they try to say we need to move away from this battle, they don't know the implications of what they're talking about. This is a battle we must not lose. It's a battle that we must continue to fight. We must understand how to message it and articulate it. We must not have candidates that are afraid of these issues or have no clue how to articulate these core values. Go to Liberty Counsel's website at lc.org. There's a lot of resources there. There's my book, Same-Sex Marriage, Putting Every Household at Risk. There's also Rena Linda Voltson's book, Only One Mommy, there as well. Go to Liberty Counsel's website for more information and make sure that you become a part of this organization. Now more than ever, we need your prayers and your financial assistance and your action in your community as we continue to stand for these core values.
You have been listening to Faith and Freedom with Liberty Counsel. We hope that we have motivated you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedom. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email updates. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.